6 months ago, you bought a $599 Hisense at Walmart. Picture looked great in the store. Reviews said it was a steal. Today, dark vertical lines down the left side of the screen. Customer service puts you on hold for 47 minutes, then tells you the crack voids your warranty even though you never touched the panel. Now you're stuck with a $599 paperweight. Here's what they didn't tell you at checkout. Not all TV brands fail at the same rate. Sony loses 3% of units within 5 years. Hisense? Try 20%. That difference isn't luck. It's engineering, quality control, and whether a company actually stands behind what it sells. Let's talk about which brands last and which ones leave you shopping for a replacement before your couch cushions have broken in. Hisense? Section 1. How we actually know this stuff. Before we get into the rankings, you need to understand where this data comes from, because I'm not just reading spec sheets and calling it research. Consumer Reports surveys over 150,000 members every year about their TV ownership experiences. They ask one simple question: did your TV break or stop working the way it should? Then they crunch the numbers by brand and project failure rates over 5 years of ownership. The 2025 Life Story Research America's most trusted study surveyed over 6,000 active TV shoppers to measure consumer trust. This isn't asking people which brand they've heard of. It's asking people actively shopping for TVS right now, which brands they trust enough to actually buy. An RTINGS, the testing lab that's basically the gold standard for TV reviews. It ran a 3-year torture test on 102 TVs. They left them on 24/7, cycling through content designed to stress every component. 20 TVs failed outright. The patterns that emerge tell you exactly which technologies hold up and which ones don't. So when I say a brand has a 3% failure rate versus 20%, I'm not guessing. This is real data from real people who bought real TVS and lived with them long enough to know whether they hold up. Section 2. Number 12, Westinghouse, the bargain bin disaster. Let's start at the bottom with Westinghouse. Not the Westinghouse that made appliances your grandparents trusted. That company sold the name decades ago. Now it's a zombie brand slapped on cheap TVS manufactured by whoever bids lowest. Consumer Reports gives Westinghouse a poor reliability rating. To translation, these TVS fail so often that CR won't recommend them at any price. The most common problems? Backlights dying within the first year, streaming apps that freeze or crash constantly, firmware updates that never come. The 43-inch Westinghouse WA43UFX 1019 sells for $179 at Walmart. Sounds like a deal until you realize the backlight strips are so cheaply made that one failed LED kills the entire screen. And since Westinghouse doesn't stock replacement parts and their customer service is basically non-existent, your $179 becomes a $179 lesson in why some deals are too good to be true. One buyer wrote, Westinghouse 50-inch lasted 11 months before half the screen went dark. Called support, got transferred 3 times, nobody could help. Ended up dragging it to the curb, never again. Bottom line, avoid Westinghouse entirely. Even if it's $50 cheaper than the competition, it's not worth it. Section 3, number 11, Element, the Walmart special. That isn't special. Element is another zombie brand. It exists purely to fill Walmart shelves with cheap TVS that people buy when they're broke or desperate. And like Westinghouse, Consumer Reports gives Element a poor reliability rating. The Element 55-inch E4 SW5518 sells for $239. For that price, you're getting a 4K panel with no local dimming, a processor that struggles to upscale 1080p content, and build quality that feels like it was assembled by someone who didn't care if the screws were tight. The biggest issue with Element? They use the absolute cheapest components available. Capacitors that fail early, power supplies that can't handle voltage fluctuations. LED strips wired in series so that one dead LED blacks out the entire screen. And customer service? Good luck. Element TVS are sold through third-party retailers, and when something goes wrong, everyone points fingers. Walmart says, talk to Element. Element says, talk to Walmart. Meanwhile, you're stuck with a broken TV. One frustrated owner said, Element 43-inch died after 8 months. No warning, just wouldn't turn on. Walmart told me to contact Element. Element never responded to my emails. $200 wasted. Bottom line, if you're shopping at Walmart and see an Element TV, keep walking. Spend the extra $100 on literally anything else. Section 4, Number 10, RCA, the name that doesn't mean what it used to. RCA used to be an American electronics giant. Now it's just a licensed name stamped on budget TVS made overseas with minimal quality control. Consumer Reports ranks RCA with poor reliability. Like Westinghouse and Element, these TVS fail at rates high enough that CR won't recommend any models regardless of how they perform in testing. The RCA 65-inch RT RU 6528 costs $329 at Walmart. It's 65 inches of disappointment. The picture is dim. We're talking maybe 250 nits peak brightness, which means HDR is pointless. The SmartOS is clunky Roku TV, which would be fine if the TV had enough processing power to run it smoothly. It doesn't. But the real problem is longevity. RCA TVS use cheap power supplies that fail under normal use. Owners report random shutdowns, flickering, and complete power failures within the first 2 years. And because RCA doesn't manufacture these TVS directly, unwarranty claims are a nightmare. One owner vented, RCA 55-inch worked fine for 14 months, then started flickering. 3 weeks later, dead. Tried the warranty, got the runaround for 6 weeks, finally gave up and bought a Samsung. Bottom line, the RCA name doesn't mean what it did in 1950. These are cheap TVS with cheap components and zero support. Section 5, Number 9, Vizio, the disappointing middle. Now we're getting into brands that people actually buy on purpose, and this is where it hurts. Vizio used to be the value king. Good picture quality, reasonable prices, solid reliability. Not anymore. In 2019, Consumer Reports pulled its recommendation from 7 Vizio models after survey data revealed a 20% failure rate within 5 years. Vizio fired back, claiming the data was flawed. But here's the thing, Consumer Reports didn't back down. The data held up. Fast forward to 2025, and Vizio's reliability is middling at best. They get a fair rating, which means 1 in 5 TVS will develop problems within 5 years. The most common complaints? Streaming apps that freeze or crash, Wi-Fi connectivity that drops randomly, backlights that dim or fail prematurely. The Vizio MQX series, their quantum dot line, has been particularly problematic. Owners report uniformity issues where parts of the screen are brighter or darker than others. And Vizio's customer service, which used to be decent, has gotten worse as the company tries to cut costs. One Reddit user summed it up. Bought a Vizio MQ7 for $699. 2 years in, half the screen is darker than the other half. Support said it's normal wear and tear and wouldn't cover it under warranty. Never buying Vizio again. The Vizio V4K65M-0804. Their budget 65-inch, peaks at 282 nits in HDR. That's pathetic. For reference, a decent TV should hit at least 600 nits. At 282 nits, HDR content looks flat and lifeless. Bottom line, Vizio isn't terrible, but they're not what they used to be. If you buy one, get the extended warranty and hope for the best. Section 6. Number 8. Hisense, the budget gamble. Hisense is the tricky one. They make some genuinely impressive TVs at great prices. The Hisense U8 QG, for example, is a mini LED beast that competes with TVs costing twice as much. But reliability? That's where things get dicey. Consumer Reports gives Hisense a fair reliability rating with a projected 20% failure rate within 5 years, the same as Vizio. And while Hisense disputes this, claiming their defect rate is under 4%, the customer complaints tell a different story. The biggest issues with Hisense? Quality control inconsistencies and abysmal customer service. You might get a perfect unit that lasts a decade, or you might get one with uniformity issues, dead pixels, or a backlight that dies in 6 months. It's a coin flip, and when something goes wrong, Hisense's warranty process is a nightmare. Everything is handled by email through third-party contractors. Cases drag on for weeks or months. One owner reported, "My Hisense U7K developed a white line across the screen after 6 months. I've been emailing back and forth with warranty support for 8 weeks. They keep asking for more photos, more documentation. Still no resolution." The Hisense U75QG is a solid mid-range TV on paper, but Consumer Affairs reviews are brutal. Owners report screens cracking spontaneously, customer service ghosting them, and warranty claims getting denied over technicalities. Hisense's Vida Smart OS is also problematic. It's slow, buggy, and missing popular apps. Many Hisense owners end up buying a Roku or Fire Stick just to avoid dealing with Vida. Bottom line, Hisense TVs can be great values, but you're gambling. If you win, you get excellent picture quality for the price. If you lose, you're stuck with a broken TV and customer service that won't help. Section 7. Number 7. TCL, the value brand that's getting better. TCL sits in an interesting spot. They're a budget brand, but their reliability is significantly better than Hisense or Vizio. One Consumer Reports gives TCL a good rating for owner satisfaction, which puts them just below the premium brands. TCL's failure rate isn't publicly disclosed in the same way as Sony or LG, but based on Consumer Reports surveys and user feedback, TCL sits around 12 to 15% failure rate within 5 years. That's better than Hisense and Vizio, but worse than the top-tier brands. The good news? TCL is improving. Their QM series, especially the QM7K and QM8K, have proven reliable in RTINGS long-term testing. No catastrophic failures, just solid, consistent performance. The TCL QM6K, their entry-level mini LED, sells for around $547 for the 65-inch. That's absurdly cheap for a mini LED TV, and most owners are happy with it. The most common complaints are minor. Occasional app crashes, slightly uneven brightness, Munst HD, eye handshake issues with older devices. Where TCL struggles is consistency. Their budget models, the S-Series, are hit or miss. Some units are fine. Others develop backlight bleed, stuck pixels, or power supply issues within a year. And TCL's customer service is adequate but not great. Better than Hisense, not as good as Samsung or LG. Warranty claims get processed, but you might wait weeks for a response. One TCL owner wrote, "QM7K has been solid for 18 months, no issues, picture is great, would buy again." Another said, TCLS 546 developed a dark spot after 10 months. Took 3 weeks to get a replacement panel approved. Annoying, but at least they honored the warranty. Bottom line, TCL is a good budget option if you're willing to accept slightly higher risk. Most people won't have problems, but if you do, support is slow. Section 8, Number 6. Phillips, the European wildcard. Phillips is a weird case because they don't manufacture their own TVS anymore. TP Vision, a joint venture between TPV Technology and Phillips, makes Phillips branded TVS. So you're buying a licensed name, but the quality control is significantly better than zombie brands like RCA. Philips TVS aren't widely available in the US, but in Europe, they're well regarded. Their Ambilight feature, LEDs on the back of the TV that project colors onto the wall, is genuinely cool and adds immersion. Reliability? Philips sits in the middle. Better than budget brands, not as bulletproof as Sony or LG. Most Philips TVs use panels sourced from LG or Samsung, which helps with quality, but the processing and firmware can be hit or miss. Consumer Reports include some Philips models in their recommended lists, which tells you they pass reliability thresholds. But owner satisfaction is mixed. Some people love the Ambilight feature and find the picture quality excellent. Others complain about software bugs and slow app performance. Bottom line, if you can find a Philips TV at a good price and you like the Ambilight gimmick, it's worth considering. But they're not widely available in the US, so most people won't even encounter them. Section 9, Number 5. Panasonic, the fading giant. Panasonic used to dominate the plasma TV market. Their plasmas were legendary for picture quality and reliability, but they exited the US TV market years ago and now only sell in Europe and Asia. In Europe, Panasonic OLEDs are highly regarded. They use LG panels but pair them with Panasonic's processing, which handles motion and color better than some competitors. Reliability is solid, not Sony level, but better than TCL or Hisense. The problem with Panasonic is software. Their My Home Screen OS is laggy and outdated. Many Panasonic owners buy external streaming devices to avoid dealing with it. Owner satisfaction is decent. People who buy Panasonic tend to care about picture quality over smart features, and Panasonic delivers on picture quality. But customer service and repair costs can be rough. Panasonic doesn't have a strong service network in many regions, so getting repairs done takes time and money. Bottom line, if you're in Europe or Asia and want an OLED with excellent processing, Panasonic is worth considering. In the US, you can't buy them anyway, so it's moot. Section 10, Number 4. Samsung, the mainstream workhorse. Samsung is the biggest TV manufacturer in the world, and their reliability is solid. Not perfect, but solid. Consumer Reports give Samsung a good to very good reliability rating depending on the model tier. Their premium models, the QN90F Mini LED and S95F QD OLED, have failure rates around 8% within 5 years. Their budget Crystal UHD line, closer to 12 to 15%. Samsung's strength is consistency. When you buy a Samsung, you know what you're getting. The Tizen OS is stable and receives regular updates. The remote is simple and functional. The picture quality, especially on their QLED and QD OLED lines, is excellent. The downside? Samsung's refusal to support Dolby Vision means you're stuck with HDR10+, which isn't as widely supported. And Samsung's customer service, while better than budget brands, is hit or miss. Some people get great support, others get the runaround. Born the most common Samsung failures? Backlights on budget models. The Crystal UHD line uses cheap LED strips that can fail within 3 years if you run the TV at high brightness constantly. One owner complained, Samsung UN43NU6900B backlight died after less than 3 years. Support told me it was out of warranty and would cost $400 to fix. Just bought a different brand. But for every complaint, there are dozens of Samsung owners who've had zero problems. Samsung's premium models, the QN90F and S95F, are genuinely reliable. RTINGS's longevity test showed no catastrophic failures on Samsung OLEDs or high-end QLEDs. The Samsung QN90F Mini LED is currently one of the most reliable TVs you can buy. Bright enough to handle any room, local dimming that rivals OLED, and a track record of lasting 5+ years without major issues. But bottom line, if you're buying Samsung, spend a bit more for their QLED or OLED lines. The budget crystal UHD models cut too many corners, but if you buy a QN90F or S95F, you're getting a TV that will last. Section 11, Number 3, LG, the OLED King. LG is the king of OLED TVs, and their reliability is excellent. Consumer Reports gives LG a very good reliability rating with failure rates around 4% within 5 years, only slightly higher than Sony. LG's OLED panels are used by almost every TV manufacturer, including Sony, Panasonic, and Phillips. But LG's own OLEDs, the B5, C5, and G5, pair those panels with excellent processing and the best smart TV operating system on the market. WebOS is fast, intuitive, and receives years of software updates. LG's Magic Remote is one of the best TV remotes ever made, and LG's customer service, while not perfect, is significantly better than budget brands. The most common LG complaint? Early OLEDs had burn-in concerns, but modern LG OLEDs, especially the C5 and G5, have advanced panel protection features that make burn-in extremely rare under normal use. RTINGS burn-in test shows that LG OLEDs can run 24/7 for years before any permanent image retention appears. Where LG stumbles is their budget LED TVs. The QNED and NanoCell lines use inferior VA and IPS panels that don't compete well with Samsung QLEDs or TCL Mini LEDs at the same price. If you're buying LG, stick with OLED. Their LED TVs aren't worth it. One LG C5 owner wrote, 18 months in, 0 issues. Picture still looks incredible, no burn-in, no dead pixels, no problems, worth every penny. Another said, LG G4 has been flawless for 2 years. An only issue was the Magic Remote batteries died, but that's hardly LG's fault. LG's reliability edge comes from vertical integration. They make their own panels, their own processors, and their own software. That means better quality control and fewer points of failure. Bottom line, if you're buying an OLED, LG is the safest bet. The C5 and G5 are industry-leading for picture quality and reliability. Just avoid their budget LED models. Section 12, Number 2, Sony, the premium perfectionist. Sony is the most reliable TV brand, period. Consumer Reports give Sony a very good reliability rating with only 3% of units experiencing problems within 5 years. That's the lowest failure rate of any major brand. The 2025 Life Story Research Study ranked Sony as the most trusted TV brand with a net trust quotient score of 118.7. But that's not marketing hype. That's thousands of TV shoppers saying they trust Sony more than any other brand. Why is Sony so reliable? Quality control. Sony doesn't cut corners. Their panels come from LG or Samsung, but Sony's processing, the X1 Ultimate chip, is the best in the industry. Their firmware is stable. Their build quality feels premium even on mid-range models. The Sony Bravia 8 OLED uses an LG panel, but outperforms LG's own C5 in motion handling and upscaling. The Sony X90L, their mid-range LED, uses a Samsung panel but handles brightness and local dimming better than Samsung's own TVs at the same price. Sony's customer service is also top tier. When something goes wrong, which is rare, Sony actually helps. Warranty claims get processed quickly, replacement parts are available, support reps know what they're talking about. When the downside? Sony TVs are expensive. The Bravia 8 OLED costs $2,299 for the 65-inch. That's $1,000 more than the LG C5 at clearance prices. The X90L costs $1,099, which is more than the TCL QM6K that delivers similar picture quality. But here's the thing. Over 5 years, Sony's 3% failure rate versus TCL's 15% failure rate means you're way more likely to get your money's worth from Sony. One Sony owner said it best. Bought a Sony X900H in 2020. 5 years later, still perfect. No issues, no complaints. I've watched friends replace their budget TVs twice in that time. Bottom line, if you want the most reliable TV on the market and can afford the premium, buy Sony. You're paying extra upfront, but you're getting a TV that will last a decade. Section 13. Number 1. The real winner depends on your budget. Here's the truth. The most reliable brand depends on what you can afford and what you prioritize. If money is no object, buy Sony. 3% failure rate, industry-leading processing, premium build quality. You're getting the best TV available, and it will last. If you want OLED in value, buy LG. The C5 at $1,299 is the sweet spot of price and reliability. 4% failure rate, industry-leading panel technology, excellent support. If you want premium mini LED, buy Samsung. The QN90F is bright, reliable, and Samsung's Tizen OS is rock solid. 8% failure rate on their premium models is acceptable. If you're on a budget, buy TCL. The QM6K at $547 is the best value on the market. 12 to 15% failure rate is higher than Sony or LG, but most people won't have problems, and the price is unbeatable. And if you're really broke, save up for another month and buy TCL instead of Hisense, Vizio, Element, or RCA. The extra $100 to $200 will save you from the 20% failure rate that plagues budget brands. Outro, here's the bottom line. Sony is the most reliable TV brand in 2026, followed by LG, then Samsung, then TCL. Everything else is a gamble with worse odds. But reliability isn't everything. If you buy a $2,000 Sony and it lasts 10 years, that's $200 per year. If you buy a $500 TCL and it lasts 5 years, that's $100 per year. Sometimes the budget option is the smarter play, even with higher failure rates. Which brand have you had the best luck with? Or which brand burned you so badly you'll never buy from them again? Let me know in the comments. And if you want honest breakdowns based on real data before you drop $1,000 on a TV, hit subscribe. Because somebody needs to tell you the truth about what actually lasts. And it sure as hell isn't the guy at Best Buy working on commission.